Hey, Chris.
Added some applause, Paula.
I know.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. I'm having issues over here on my Instagram side
Yeah,
for some reason.
it happens.
Um so give me a second,
Take your
right
time.
quick. Um and let me try and fix this really quick. But tell us a little bit. Oh, I can't even do it. All right, so I guess you were just not going to get Instagram to work. I could not get the volume off on the Instagram side. I don't know what was going on over there, but oh well. Well, welcome everyone. This is
Figure
Tech.
it
This
out.
is 2024. It's this 2024. We'll figure it out. It would have been nice to get it on over there, but hey, welcome to Keeping You Wise by Keeping It Real, where we bring authentic and real conversations to fuel the soul that you can share with others. Welcome to our 11th episode in the first one of the new year, where we will discuss just Chris and I tonight, solo, I should say, turning the page, reflect and rise. My name is Paula Bell, and I am joined by my co-host Solo. How are you doing today, Solo?
I'm doing pretty good. I have officially entered the second stage of Santa Claus, so I'm excited. You know the four stages of Santa Claus?
No, I don't. What are the four steps? I've never heard of this. Tell me.
So the first stage of Santa Claus is you believe in Santa Claus.
Okay.
The second stage of Santa Claus is you are Santa Claus. It's the stage I've stepped into. The third stage of Santa Claus is the second stage is you don't believe in Santa Claus.
Okay.
The third stage is you are Santa Claus. And the fourth stage is you look like Santa Claus. So I have officially stepped into the third stage of Santa Claus, where I am now Santa Claus and got to do the whole Santa Claus magic thing with my son. And it was awesome.
Aww.
Yeah, the old elf wrapping up the door and like the footprint snow to the tree. I found out that there's psychopaths out there that don't wrap or that actually wrap presents.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a question I'm asking you, Paula, and all of our audience.
Okay.
Does Santa Claus leave the presents wrapped or unwrapped under the tree or out on Christmas morning for the kids?
Well, how I used to do it is they were wrapped. They weren't unwrapped. So
My wife is a wrap person too. I'm an unwrap, out in all their glory, straight from the house factory. And we had that compromise that we had to do this year. So
all right.
Third stage of Santa Claus. I'm feeling good in the new year. It's been a good holiday season for sure. How are you doing?
You know, it's a new year. I'm feeling really, really energized. As many people know who follow me or who've interacted with me. And as you know, of course, I take the last 2 weeks of the year off. That's really my time. It's a hard boundary for me. It's my time to decompress, to get re-energized, to reflect, to do introspection. I spend time reflecting on what happened in the year, on goals that I accomplished, or maybe goals that I might have missed and what I want to focus on in the next year. I just take time to clear my mind and to just have a moment to be left alone, do whatever I want to do. Right? Is that really that time to just zen out and do reflection? And this year, it was some parts of it were a little bit busier than usual, than what I would have liked. But for the most part, I still got that time of relaxation and zenning. So that was a great way for me to end 2023 to come into 2024. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But right now, I'm feeling pretty energized and ready to soar in 24. That's my theme this year. It's to soar in 24. So that's what I'm going to do. But before we jump into our real meaty conversation, I just want to mention a couple of things. Even though we don't have guests today, just want to mention that we are not therapists. We are not here to offer any medical advice. I am a life coach, but I am not a trained, qualified, or able to diagnose or treat any form of mental illness or disorder. Some topics that we will have this year may be triggering to you, so just be aware of that. And if they are, by all means, you can vacate. Purpose of this video cast, though, is to have real, authentic conversations that provides wisdom to us all. We want to hear from you as well, so please interact with us via chat. We would love to hear your comments, love to hear your thoughts, love to get your wisdom as well. And definitely, if you have any questions, post them in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat as we have conversations. I might even bring your particular comment to the forefront so everybody can see the wisdom that you have. Typically, these episodes will last between 45 minutes long, max 60 minutes. We try and keep it within that 60-minute time frame. As you can tell, we are real laid back. This is not a formal setting. It's just a place where we can just be safe, have open, honest, and authentic conversations. We tend to do these every month. And later on in the video cast, we will advise how you can stay connected with us to make sure that when we go live, you are on, or even to be a guest or a panelist for one of our upcoming shows.
That's right.
That's just a couple of things I wanted to mention really quick, but I really do want to jump into this conversation today, so, which is all about reflection. And then let's turn the page. Let's not stay in the past. Let's turn the page and appreciate the present, because the present is a gift, right? And we
Yep.
can't necessarily predict the future, but we can definitely be present in the present. And hopefully that will help guide us into the future. But let's first start on some reflection, because I think it's always good to go back and think about what we have gone through. What would you say were the most significant achievements and milestones that you accomplished in 2023, both professionally and personally?
Wow.
I know,
Um,
right? That's a lot.
that's a whole year.
I know that's a lot.
It is a lot for me, honestly. I had a lot of wins this year. I mean, we won some awards both personally and professionally, as a team and as an individual. You see some of them back there. I overcame some serious adversity in both personal and professional life. That's always a win. We've done well in business. Shoot, I even built a little muscle and some strength this year. But I would say that my most significant accomplishment, now that I think about it, is I had a baby this year.
Yes, you did.
I did. And I mean, let's just, all the glory goes to my wife for having the baby. I didn't have a baby, right? I was there.
Right.
But with that baby, I had to overcome what seemed like some debilitating fear. And I'll be vulnerable with you when I say that. And I also had to fall in love with him, which sounds weird, right? So first, I had to overcome some serious fear. I asked myself, like, will I love him as much as the first one? Because he's my second son. Will my first son feel replaced? Will I be able to pour into him like I am now when my attention's divided? Do I have what it takes to even do that? Like, so a lot of that fear, and that was really difficult. It really paralyzed me for a long time, and I got over it. I really just pulled myself up by the bootstraps and got it done. So that was a big accomplishment, but I also say fell in love with them for a reason, because so my dad tells me of my first son, if we have time to go into a quick story, he goes, son, don't worry about falling in love with the baby. The second that you put that baby in your arms, you're going to look at him and you're just going to see his little tiny hands and those little eyes looking back at you, and you're just going to fall in love with him. So I was like, okay, cool. So I remember I was at the hospital and they put my son in my arms, and I looked down, his little tiny hands and his eyes, and I got nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm a psychopath. You know what I mean? Like, I don't love my son. What's going on? I was scared. I was anxious. I don't want to drop him. How am I going to raise him? He's my responsibility. I was more scared than anything. I didn't just instantly fall in love and knew everything was going to be okay like I thought was going to happen. Like, for me, it took some serious work and effort. I remember the long nights and staying up. I remember the getting up. I remember the dirty diapers and the pee and the poop when he peed all over me, pooped all over the bed. And I think that's a big misconception in love. I think that we think that just love happens, right? Like, you're going to find Prince Charming or Princess Charming and it's just going to happen. You're just going to know. And it's just not how it works. Like, I love my sons more than anything because of the work and the effort and the sacrifice that I put into them, the love and the time and the energy that I put into them. And I think that that's just how love works in general. I watched this show. My wife gets me into crazy shows. And one of the shows that we're watching is Married at First Sight. Have you seen that?
I have. I can't watch it, though.
It's ridiculous, right? Like, people talk about the whole thing, and this is a perfect person for you, and you're going to love them. And like, everything's falling apart up front. People they don't understand why. Because that's not how people fall in love. You don't just fall in love with things that are compatible. You don't just fall in love for any reason. It takes energy. It takes work. It takes sacrifice. And people are scared of sacrifice. I know I was. I was scared of sacrificing sleep for my son, sacrificing my selfishness. I didn't even realize how selfish I was, but I was. Sacrifice is giving up something of value for something else. And I didn't even know the value of my son when I was asked to sacrifice sleep, sacrifice my life and focus. But now that I understand the value of him, the sacrifice was worth it. And I'm glad I put in the blood, sweat, and tears because I do love him. And I would say that that love that I have for my new son, like I have for my old son, is probably the biggest accomplishment that I have had this year, and overcoming that fear that it took to overcome. I know it's kind of a long answer, but that's what I got for you.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Not fear, but fair.
Great.
No, so you would say your biggest thing then was really the birth of your second son, and that was one of your most significant achievements for
Absolutely.
you personally. How
Hands.
about yeah, how about professionally? Did anything happen professionally
Yeah.
that you
I mean,
felt was mhm.
we won at my job 30 plus awards: learning program of the year, team of the year, learning professionals of the year, you name it, we won it. Um, and that's been significant. I mean, going to Las Vegas, sitting in front of a room of professionals, industry experts all across the world, right?
Mhm.
Guys from IBM, gals from Halliburton, or not Halliburton, but huge companies, AT&T, all of these big wigs that are going up against awards, and then you winning, essentially being recognized by industry experts and huge giants of the industry. That felt good. That felt real good. That was cool. That was super cool.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Um yeah, I would say for me,
Yeah, what do you think?
Perf oh, let's go personally first.
All right.
Personally, 2023 was actually finishing the Drake Accelerator program
What is that?
and really getting clear understanding of where I wanted my business to go. So essentially what that program helped you understand was if you had an idea or a concept, what was your idea or concept? And then where did you want, like for business. So it was for
Right.
entrepreneurs. And then how do you want to build that business and things of that nature? So I felt that that was probably the biggest thing for me was getting through that program personally with everything else I had going on and really getting a clear understanding, some real clarity on my where I wanted my business to go.
It's awesome.
Yeah. As far as professionally, so what happened to me in 2023 is I ended up switching jobs. So yes, I do have my own business, but I also had the opportunity to join another company where I collaborate with a portion of my business that, as I was telling you earlier, I really don't need to focus on in my business. I can collaborate with this other entity to do that work and then focus on those things in my business that are really important to me or where I want to focus my energy. I will say though that initially, um, that position came about with another one of my positions being eliminated, but
Mm.
it was worth the move, and it was worth the change in order for me to put it this way, in order for other doors and opportunities to be open. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
So even though sometimes you wonder why things happen, I do believe things happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And though you wonder why things happen, it's sometimes it's on the other side of that challenge or obstacle, great things come.
Yeah.
So, which kind of leads into the next thing we were going to talk about is a key lesson learned or insight from a challenge. And one of the key lessons or insights I learned that I will share with everyone here is when you're put in a position or when you know you need to let go of something that may not be serving you or may not be of value at the time or may be stopping you from going where you want to go, or you're staying in something that was only meant for a season, not for a lifetime, make sure that you acknowledge that and you really really think about what are those things that you want to do that serves value, that's really because, and this is why I want you to bring up your point that you were talking to me before about the
Mm,
amount of time you spend at work, because I think it's going to
mm,
segue into that. But I think it's really important that you think about, and that's one of the key lessons I learned. I'm a very loyal person. I will stay with stuff, stay with relationships and things that I probably shouldn't always. But I am also the type of person who sometimes you gotta force me to leave.
mm.
I just won't do it on my own, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes when those things happen, they happen for a reason, and it's not always a bad thing. It could
No.
be that's it's just time for you to move into that next season of your life. That's the turning the page point, right? But it could be that next season of moving into your life. So I think one of the key lessons I learned in 2023 is to remove those things that don't serve me.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you stop chasing the wrong things, you give the right things a chance to catch you, right?
right.
And I am very similar in that I get stuck in my, I don't even want to say comfort zone, but if I'm honest, I probably would say comfort zone, right? I'm comfortable. So the thought of jumping off the cliff to do your own thing or start your own thing is just super scary. And sometimes you need that push. And you think that that push hurts because you fall off the cliff, you hit the rocks, you're all scraped up, battered, bruised. But you end up looking back and it's the best thing that ever happened to you, right? Like there's a
Mhm.
purpose for your pain.
Mhm.
And the person that you are on the other side of that storm that you went through is actually a better, brighter, and more beautiful person you are. I got laid off from a large financial institution. Paula, you know, I won't
I
name
do.
names,
Mhm.
but I was devastated. I thought it was over. My salary's gone. My income, what am I going to do? Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. But because of that, I was pushed into a better position with more money, more opportunity, better team, more just everything. So I feel you. I'm right there with you. So I love that you learned that. For me, if I were to say, what was one of the insights that I learned last year, especially from like challenge or setbacks, I'd probably have to do first off a shout out to our mutual friend Tamian.
Mm.
So Tamian is one of the CEOs, or is the CEO, one of the co-founders of Think 3D. Go holler at it. It's phenomenal.
Mhm.
Leadership Academy Learning Institution. Let's think3d.com. But he says something. He says that essentially, often life will be determined by the narrative we choose to tell ourselves. And I was talking to him about that, and he challenged me to ask myself what kind of narrative that I tell myself. And when I thought about it, I said, oftentimes it's not even the narrative you choose to tell yourself. Oh, this is rough. What am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to pay rent. But it's the questions you ask yourself. How am I going to pay rent? How is this going to happen? Is my son going to feel replaced? Am I going to be good enough? So I really started changing the way I speak to me. How do you speak about you to you, right?
Mhm.
Like, do you speak victory into your life? Do you have a perspective that you're fighting from the victory? Or do you speak defeat into your life and have a perspective that you're fighting for the victory?
Mhm.
So when I started speaking to myself like, I already won, I already got the victory, I'm standing on the hill, we've already got the W, and started recognizing those W's, then it was good. And I started noticing essentially the red cars. Have you ever done the red car exercise?
I have not.
Have you gone outside today?
Yeah.
How many red cars do you see today? No
I
idea.
don't even know. Yeah.
Exactly. So if I were to tell you, Paul, I'm gonna give you $1 million tomorrow when you go outside. If you could tell me at the end of the day how many red cars do you see? You think that you could tell me how many red cars you saw? I'm gonna give you $1 million if you go outside. You can tell me,
Probably.
even if you didn't
Probably.
see any red cars. Say, Solo, I saw 0 red cars. But if
Yeah,
you,
probably.
I was gonna give you $1 million, you'd probably be able to tell me, right?
Yeah, I'd be more focused on it, right?
You'd
I'd
be
be
more
looking for that.
focused on it. And that's
Yeah.
the point, right? When I started asking myself, how am I such a champion? Why do things always work out for me? How am I such a good father, parent, yada, yada? Start asking myself intentional questions and telling myself an intentional story. All of a sudden, I started seeing those red cars, that opportunity, that goodness, that success, that awesome that were just whipping by my awareness because I was so stuck in the narrative of saying just what I saw. And a lot of the times it's bombarded by negativity. So that's what you speak out loud. So I would say the biggest insight that I got, especially going through the storms this year, is really being intentional about the narrative that I choose to tell myself, the way that I talk to myself. And I'm
Yeah.
very positive in speaking victory in and over my life. And it really has made a difference. So, again, shout out Tamian, Think 3D, doing good things.
I agree. Yeah, Tamian, he's doing great things out there in the South Dakota area and beyond at this point. And so, most definitely, he is definitely a guru and an expert on the whole leadership, leading yourself, defining that culture you want. How do you speak to yourself? How do you govern yourself? How you be more productive? So, yeah, and he always has great insights, right? No matter when you talk to him, he always has great insights. Okay, so we've done some reflection. Let's now turn the page to 2024 because we've learned a lot in 2023. So let's turn the page a little bit. How do you approach, for our audience out here who's listening to us live now or might be listening to us later on, how do you approach the process of transitioning from one year to the next? What rituals or practices have you found helpful to do that transition?
So I want to give a shout out first off to you on this, Paula, because I got this from you.
Okay.
But I like to shut down at the end of the year as well. I typically don't get 2 weeks. I wish I did. I almost got 2 weeks this year, but I got at least a good week and a weekend. But I just shut down. I didn't go on vacation. I didn't go do some stuff.
Right.
I didn't go visit family. I shut down. Like I sat in my pajamas, should have showered more, should have done more and been productive. But I really do believe that you only recharge when you recharge. I don't think that a vacation recharges your battery. I don't think that you just not being at work recharges your battery. I think rest is the only thing that really does that. So I shut down. I just shut it down. I didn't feel bad about not being productive. I just shut the studio down. And I feel like that gave me this lift in my battery that I'm back up to like 95, 100%, which was crucial. The other thing that I do is, like a lot of people, is, you set New Year's resolutions in the new year, but I really do think New Year's resolutions are trash. And I agree. They're trash, right? Like, what do they say? 90% of New Year's resolutions fail before even January's done, isn't it something like that?
Yeah.
So this guy who wrote Atomic Habits, I think his name is James Clear. He said, essentially, you don't rise to the level of your goals.
Uh-oh. Chris is frozen.
Oh, am I frozen? Am I back?
You're back now. So I heard you don't rise to the occasion of your goals. Go for it.
Yeah. So James Clear, the guy who wrote Atomic Habits, said you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And I wholeheartedly agree that. You could set a goal, a New Year's resolution. I want to lose 20 pounds. It's like, that's great. But most likely you're not going to, unless you have a plan, unless you have a system. If your goal is losing 20 pounds, great. How are you going to do that? You going to go to the gym? What gym? What days are you going to go to the gym? Oh, 3 days? What are you going to do when you get there? What time are you going to get there? How much cardio are you going to do? How much weights are you going to do? What are you going to eat? Are you going to take any supplements? Are you going to get any help? Are you going to actually follow a plan? So it's like figuring out all of these systems, all of these step-by-step plan, and then putting it into a system. I'm going to wake up Monday and I'm going to go to the gym at 7 o'clock. I'm going to do 20 minutes of cardio on this specific machine, at this specific incline, at this specific speed. I'm going to then do some weights, and I'm going to split my body up into upper body, lower body, and core. I'm going to do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to get a trainer to hold me accountable. I'm going to get an accountability buddy over here. I'm going to track my calories by buying a scale, and you map it out, and now you have a system that you follow. That's when you accomplish these resolutions, these goals. And if you're lucky and you're disciplined and you get a good system and you follow that system long enough, that system becomes habit. And then all of a sudden it's on autopilot. You don't even got to tell me to get up and go to the gym. It's just something that I do. I love it. It's in my brain now. It's a habit. So I would say that the best thing that I do at the end of the year, thanks to you, is I shut down and recharge my batteries, because I'm burnt by the end of the year. Yeah. And the second thing that I do is I actually figure out what the goal that I have is, losing 20 pounds, and then I reverse engineer a system. What is it going to take me to get there? What's the
Mhm.
step-by-step, action-by-action plan that I can put in place that all I got to do now is just be disciplined to follow it, that's going to get me there? And hopefully, if it's a good system and it works, it'll become habit. And the next year, I won't even have to think about it. It's just something I do, and I add to it, add to it, add to it. So that's me. But what do you do? Because I'm trying to glean some more of this shutting down, recharge your battery, and all the other things that you've taught me. So what else? What do you got?
Yeah. So, okay. So I want to continue on, add a little bit onto your goal setting. So I'm not a resolutions person either.
Really?
I don't believe it. To me, a resolution is like a diet. It's something that's temporary. I'm going to do this to achieve this potentially, or maybe. For me, in order to be really impactful with my goals, I need to put a why behind it.
Mm,
Why am I doing this goal? Because if my why isn't big enough, I'm probably not going to achieve that goal, or it might be a goal I shouldn't even be focusing on. If
oh,
I can't define the why behind it, that lets me know that I don't have enough vested in it to really probably push forward to do what
that's
what I need to do, or I just need to really rethink of the why. So for every goal that I have a why behind it and the desired outcome or outcomes of that goal. That's what keeps me motivated,
good.
because I'll go back and I'll say, well, I need to do X goal because of this. And this is how it's going to make my life better. And this is
Mm,
how it's going to help me do what I want to do. So that's one thing I wanted to add on to the
that's
goals.
good.
Definitely have a system for them. Definitely have a plan. And in addition to that, have somebody hold you accountable. It
Mm-hmm.
is proven that if you have accountability, you are more likely to achieve your goals. If you actually have accountability meetings, you are 95% more likely to achieve your goals.
Really? Is it
Yes, it's
95?
95% likely that you're going to achieve those goals is because somebody's holding you accountable, and you don't feel like going back in front of a group and saying to that group, "Oh, I didn't get my goals done." Well, why are you slacking, right? So you'll have that. Well, most people don't. Maybe some do, but most don't. So that's one of the things that I do. One of the things that I also do to move from one year to the next is I let go.
Okay. What do you mean?
I really try not to bring things into the new year that is baggage. I leave that in the last day of the year. The last day of the year, New Year's Eve. I make that decision that, okay, I'm done with this drama. I'm done with
Yep.
these issues. I'm not
Yep.
bringing it into 2024. It's not going to serve me to bring in baggage into a new year when I'm starting fresh.
Ah,
So it's to me, it's just like in a relationship, right? You don't want to bring baggage from past relationships into your present relationship, because number one, that's not fair to the person that you're having a relationship with. Not their fault you went through those things.
yep.
And that also says that you're not totally, really, potentially, you may not be healed yet. You might still have some things you need to work through.
Yep.
And so that person isn't really getting all of you yet. And I'm not saying a person gets 100% of you 100% of the time, but you definitely don't want to bring in baggage that can be a hindrance or a detractor to your existing relationship. I don't
Um,
want to do that to myself. So if I don't want to do that to another person, love yourself. You got to love yourself first. Why do I want to do that to myself? So I really do. And that's what self reflection and introspection really comes into play for me when
mm-hmm.
I sit down at the end of the year, because I need to have some hard conversations with myself, some hard truths.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that I need to let go of. Another thing that I do is I reevaluate boundaries. I set hardcore boundaries now because people can be downright disrespectful, and they have a way to make you feel guilty because you're not doing what they want you to do. That control and manipulation
mm-hmm.
needs to stop.
Yeah.
And if I'm truly your friend, if you come to me solo and you say, I need to take a break from doing keeping you wise by keeping it real, Paula. I got a newborn. Can you handle it? I got to put this boundary up because I'm overwhelmed. I got too much going on. If I'm really your friend, yeah, I got you,
You got
right?
me. And you
Because
did.
yes, right. When you said you couldn't make it because you had, not only did you have a newborn, you were moving. So you had a lot going on. And so, but you told me, you were honest with me, and you told me, I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now. I got a lot going on. Okay, well, I don't want to add to your stress. I'll handle it until you can get back.
Yep.
And so having those boundaries and having people around you who respect them is
Crucial.
really important. I had people when I was taking my last 2 weeks off were trying to get me to join meetings. I'm not joining your meeting. The same way you don't want to be bothered when you're on vacation is the
Yep.
same way I don't want to be bothered when I'm on vacation. So
Yep.
respect that because we're grinding hard all year long. We need that break.
Yep.
So for me, I reevaluate the boundaries that I have
I love that.
or the boundaries that I need to set
I love
because
that.
of things that's happened in the past. So that's how I transition from one year to the next. And I also make those boundaries known. So, like, for those you're hearing it on this recording, do not bother me on Sundays. Sundays are my self-care days.
I
I
will
do
duck
not
you.
want
I
to
will
be
duck.
bothered,
Yeah.
right?
I
Those are
will
my
duck.
days.
Yeah. So I have this beautiful boundary tool called Do Not Disturb on my phone, and I keep it on 24/7. My ringer doesn't exist on my phone. I don't get
Mm,
phone calls. I don't get texts. I have times when I choose to check my phone for calls and texts.
mm-hmm.
But you can't just bother me or interrupt what I'm doing to like with any kind of communication. So that's something that I found is super important. Now there are some ways to break that wall. And I give that to my loved ones, right? If you really need to get a hold of me, do this, because there's ways to obviously break the do not disturb and it does ring through or
Right.
text through. And we got that. But I agree with you. The boundaries, like protecting your peace and maintaining your focus and just doing the thing that you're doing is just so important. And it's just so rare you get the chance to be intentional like that with so many distractions and people just some being selfish and some being well-intentioned, but just ignorant of the fact that they're just jacking everything up. Like, don't call me right now. I'm zenning. And you're hitting me up with this meeting? Like, and all of a sudden your mind starts going to work because it's not like you can't. Don't think of a pink elephant right now, Paula. You just thought of one.
Right.
When someone hits you with work or a meeting or whatever, they just engaged your brain back with work or a meeting or whatever. Even if you don't want to, you engage in it a little bit. So it's crazy.
So let's go a little bit deeper for those who might be on. So we talked a little bit about like our personal boundaries and things of that nature. How do you navigate challenges in the workplace and still maintain a positive and productive mindset? Because 2023, life was life in. I saw more people get laid off, job changes, life changes, health changes. It was a lot was going on. People were really going through things, right? And then you do have, again, like you said, you spend an enormous amount of your time at work. So how do you navigate those challenges in the workplace but still maintain that positive and productive mindset so it doesn't weigh you down? What can we do to help this audience keep that positivity throughout the year? Do
That's
you
a good
think?
question. So you talk about boundaries.
Mm,
And when people think of boundaries, they think of a wall that people can't get in, right?
yeah.
But you also have to remember that the reason why a wall exists in the first place is because there's an inner sanctum too. There's a city or there's a you. And whatever is inside the boundaries is just as important as what you're keeping out. I.e., who are the people that you have inside your boundaries?
Mm,
Who my pastor calls it has fridge privileges.
mm,
You know, if you just, invited somebody over from work and they just came to your house and all of a sudden they opened up your fridge and grabbed the soda and cracked it and started drinking it, you'd be like, hey, bro, what are you doing right now? Because they don't
right.
have fridge privileges. But if one of your best friends comes in your house, goes in your fridge, cracks a soda and starts drinking it, you'd be like, okay, cool, they have fridge privileges. Who are those people that have fridge privileges? Who are you surrounding yourself? Who is inside your boundary? Who has access to you? Because I've found that those people are the most important people to lift you up and push you forward when you're down, because you're going to be down, whether it be professional, whether it be personal. You're going to have some moments where you just need to vent, cry, spit, cuss, whatever it is. And you need good people that are close to you to pick you up and to speak life into you and to love on you. And I've been very intentional about making sure that I have a tribe like that around me that knows me and knows when something's off. And when I say, oh, I'm okay, no, you're not. What's wrong? That'll dig deep, get it out, and then we can air it and they can pick me up. They say there's a And you should be very intentional about these people, right? Like, Paula, you're one of them. And I appreciate you picking me up and pushing me forward. You picked me up and pushed me forward in some of my darkest moments. I appreciate, if you ever come to the crib, you can have a soda whenever you want. Don't ask me. You got fridge privileges. I'll just say that, right? With that being said, you have to be very intentional about the people that you have in your life. They say there's 4 types of people and there's 4 forces of flight. You have your pilot's license?
I do not.
Do you know 4 forces of flight?
No, but you're in this 4 thing today. So you're like 4 Santa Claus. Yeah, I mean, you're in this 4 thing.
So there's push, there's thrust, lift, weight, and drag. Those are the 4 forces that get a plane off the ground. And there's people that are like that. There's pushers, there's thrusters, people that push you forward. You're one of those. So why don't you get your goals done? Come on, you got this. They push you. You see them pushing, doing things. You want to do things yourself. You have your lifters, the people that lift you up, the people that you get around and you just feel better. You feel lighter. They're funny or they're kind and you just feel good. But there's also those other 2. There's the drags. They want to drag you back into an old life. Oh, come on. Why you got to be doing that? Come up to the club with us. Oh, just come over here. Get back into your old life. We all know those people. And then there's those weights. You get on the social media and you feel like you need to take a bath. Always complaining. Always upset. Yeah. Always offended. You got to cut the weights and the drags off. And you got to really surround yourself in your boundaries, within your walls, with the lifters and the thrusters. So that's really how I stay positive, even through turmoil, especially professional. I really love my team. Like, I really love the people I work with. And I have some real close confidants around me that really lift me up, push me forward when I am in one of those ruts. What about you? What do you do? Because you've gone through it.
Oh, have I? We've gone through it together. Right? I mean, we both worked at the same company for a while and we've gone through it together. You know, I have to detach. So when there's challenges going on at work, for me, sometimes I have to detach from the day-to-day and do something that brings me joy. Just move. I can't keep my mind in that frame of mind, because this is how I've always felt about it in at work. You can be replaced, right? If you end up getting sick and you can't work, they're gonna find somebody else to do your job. If something happens to where you have to take some time off because of personal reasons, they're gonna find somebody else to do your job. So why on earth am I gonna let this stuff weigh me down and bog me down day after day after day? That's affecting my health, that's affecting my mindset, that's affecting my interactions with other people. So I really try and detach. Now, I'm not saying I am perfect at this, because I am not. I do bring home things as you know, as they irritate me. I do vent. I do all those things. But what I've also realized is having a close circle around me who I can vent to. Solo, you're one of them. Right? You've heard me vent about certain things that I've gone through. Our mastermind group. We all vent to each other, right? In private. I have other people that I can get on speed dial, or I just call and be like, I just need to vent a minute because of this situation. I try and get the poison out, so it doesn't take me out. I like that's how I do it. And then hopefully that will keep my mindset right to where I get back to being positive and productive, because I've taken that time, I've detached myself from it. And then also I try and figure out what can I do to overcome that challenge, or to remove that obstacle or that challenge. And sometimes, some of the times, it's easier than others, but I do try and figure that out. It's an intentional behavior. It's an intentional action. It's not something that you may just do. It's something that you have to be intentional about, and not allowing those things to continue to poison your environment, to poison your vibe, to poison your aura, and really realizing, is it something I can control? If it is, what can I do? If it's not, I don't even know why I'm getting this upset, because I can't control it anyway. It's going to happen whether I like it or not. What can I do differently within and navigate this environment of challenge? Because at the end of the day, you can make yourself sick. And I do believe that's why we have some of the health issues and things that we have, is because people are holding that stuff in, and it's actually making them sick and it's tearing them up. I experienced that when I worked in corporate America, where I've actually been sick because of the
Dis-ease.
situations. There you go. Dis-ease, disease, right? It is a true thing. You don't want to, y'all, it's not worth it.
No.
There is no job worth your health. None. None. There's no job worth it. And so if you're in a place where you feel that your health is being impacted, your morals are being impacted, your standards are being impacted. I know you got to make money. I know you got to pay bills. I know we got to live life. But at the end of the day, if you continue to stay in that environment that's toxic, you're not going to have no bills to pay because you're going to be 6 feet under.
I
It's
agree.
not it's not worth it.
I also think that, albeit difficult, ultimately it's our responsibility as free people with agency to focus on the parts of life that we choose to focus on. And I think all too often we're unintentionally focused.
Yeah.
And I think that's how our brains work, right?
Yeah.
Like 250,000 years ago when Homo sapiens came on the scene, if we were just focused naturally on the positive stuff, oh, it's nice out here, it's cool, the breeze feels beautiful, we'd have got eaten by a tiger or something. We had to be focused on those things that scare us. We had to be hyper vigilant about the things that make us anxious. It's probably one of the reasons why our society now deals with such anxiety and depression, because the ones that survived, they weren't the people that were just kumbaya and feeling good. They were the anxious ones of us. They were the ones that were looking around and spotting danger and getting out of there. But now we don't live in a world where there's snakes and tigers in the bushes that are going to pop out and eat us or bite us. So we have to be intentional about our focus. We have to understand that, yeah, there's some crazy stuff in life. Yeah, the job might suck. Yeah, this situation might be terrible, but this is just a piece of my life. Like, it's a piece, right? Where's my heart at? Where's my spirit at? Where's my family life doing? What about my community? What about my impact? A lot of the times I feel like we allow our focus, I'm stressed out, the job is tough, to galvanize all of our time. I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix for 4 hours because I had a rough day. It's like all you're doing is you're just going to repeat the same cycle. You're going to go back to work and you're going to feel trapped. Do something. Work on yourself. Join a mastermind. Get around people that have positivity. Get around folks that lift you up, push you forward. Change the narrative. And if you can't, find people that can help you. So speaking of focus, like, I would love, what is your focus in 2024? Like, what are some of the things that you would say that you're focused on in your life or your career or anything that you would like to improve in this coming year? Anything specific?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So first and foremost, getting back into my health regimen. So as many know who followed me, I had a foot surgery last year. And let me tell you, that did a number on my mental state, more so than I would have thought.
I bet.
I thought I had my stuff together. But when you're not able to do things that you once were able to do, or you have to modify it in a way, and you feel that now all that work that you've put in up to this point has now regressed, and now you're going to have to build all that back up. It does a lot to your mental state. So I'm back on it. I have 3 days straight. I worked out. Yeah, I'm back on it. I couldn't sleep last night, so I worked out. But I'm back on it. I'm back on getting back to where I was from a health perspective, from a stamina and whatnot. And something else I'll share with people that you may not know about me. There's a couple of things. Number one, I had the foot surgery issue. But number two, I actually was diagnosed with elevated blood pressure last year, which required me to take medication. And let me tell you, that messed me up mentally.
I bet.
Because the whole purpose of me working out and doing all the things I was doing was not to take medicine, right? Sometimes genetically, you can't help what your body's going to do based on genetics, based on other stuff. It's not that I was doing anything wrong. And the doctor literally had to tell me that because he saw my face when he said it. I was like, no. They also think it's linked to potentially COVID, with me having COVID in 2021, based on some medical journal history that's come out in regards to blood pressure elevation in African-American men and women, Black African-American men and women. And so I was, are you serious? I said, Doc, now, I've been trying to do all the right things, right? All my numbers are coming back great. And now you're telling me that this is the one thing that I've been trying to avoid that I have to do. And so my doctor had to get me out my head. And so this year, I've left all of that in 2023, but I'm really working on getting back to that place where my health is in check. Another thing that I'm working on in 2024, and this is why my theme is let's soar in 24, is honestly, Chris,
Hmm.
I'm tired of where my business has been from a stagnant perspective. I'm tired of helping build up other businesses and
Mm,
neglecting my own. So
mm.
this year, I'm going to be very selfish. I'm going for mine. So watch
Get it.
out. I'm
Get it.
going for mine. Okay.
Get it.
I am. You're going to see is another side of Paula Bell.
Let me hold on to
Some of
$1 million.
yeah, yeah, and
Because I
and
know you're
and
getting
and,
it.
and unfortunately, some of you all are not coming with me. Because when elevation happens, that does not mean that everybody gets to elevate with you. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be really intentional on who you have around in your circle, right? And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying it to be conceited. I'm not saying it to be arrogant. What I'm saying is I'm going
Keeping it
for
real.
mine at 24.
Yeah, you're just keeping it
So
real.
yeah, I'm going for mine. And so I know what I have to offer. I know what my value is. It was definitely affirmed and confirmed when I went through my entrepreneurial class. That motivated me like none other. And
Get
so
it.
I'm coming for mine.
All right.
So I again I spent a lot of time helping others and I will continue to do that. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I'm
You
definitely
could
about
not pour if
service
you
and
tried.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Right. I'm all about service.
Yeah.
But I also know that the reason why certain things have happened in my life and certain things happened in 2023 was to prepare me with the right mindset for 2024. So that's where I'm at. I'm ready. I'm ready to soar in 24. I don't know what on earth that means. I don't know how it's going to happen. I've already hit some challenges and some obstacles, but the funny thing about it is I just all right, cool. That's over with. Move on to the next thing, right? I don't stay there for too long. So that's where I'm at for 24. How about you?
Well, first, it doesn't surprise me that your mental left when you got essentially, I don't want to say bedridden, but you were definitely a lot less physical than you could be. I mean, your foot was out,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that happens to me too. The first thing that goes when I stop my physical exertion, like the ability to actually exert myself, do physical activity, is my mental goes, which is crazy. But if you think about it from a biological perspective, like we were hunters and gatherers. And I can tell you right now, I wasn't sitting around picking berries. I was a hunter, right? Like my genetic code comes from hunters. So are you. You're out there. If y'all don't know, Paula's what degree black belt?
Third.
Paula whip your ass. That's right. That's it. Paula's crazy. She's a hunter. So you being, I would say, stuck in one place, not being able to move, not being able to do the things that you do, yeah, a hunter sitting there picking berries would probably lose their minds. And I know that happens with me as well. But my focus is on 2024. So I've had some, I've got a couple. The first one is being more intentional about being intentional. I'll go ahead and throw another shout out to Tamian. He's got all kinds of one-liners, I swear. But he says that nothing of significance happens without intention. And I believe that to be true. And I found myself being more of a wingeter than I am intentional about the things that I do and the ways that I move, right? What is my intention in this podcast? What do I want people to get out of it? What's my intention during this conversation with Paula? What do I want to get out of it? Who do I want to be in doing it? What's my intention when I'm going to serve at church this Sunday? What's my intention with my team in this next meeting, right? Oprah says the same thing, right? She always sets an intention before she does things. And I found that when I started being intentional about being intentional, man, that was powerful. So that's one of the focuses. And my second focus, if I could be vulnerable with our audience, is just having more faith. So I wake up at 3 a.m. It's kind of around the time when I told you, hey, Paul, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need to step back for a little bit. I had a baby on the way. I needed a new house. And this is at the point where I didn't even know where I was going to be. It was the month that we had to move out. And I ain't had nowhere to go. I was in the middle of the most grueling time at work. And we're talking grueling. When I say grueling, I'm talking grueling. We're talking 12 to 16-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week. That's grueling. And I didn't know where I was going to live. I needed to perform and do well at work. And I had a new baby on the way and I was terrified. And I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know about you, but 3 o'clock is like my witching hour. When I'm stressed out, I wake up at 3 o'clock. And I start thinking, and it's hard to go back to sleep. It sounded like you had one of them days last night. You went and worked out.
Right.
So I started thinking and I started praying. I'm a man of faith.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, God, like, help me do well at work. Help me make the money I need to make. I have a new baby on the way. Please, God, let the baby be healthy. Let him come out just well. And let me be the type of father that he deserves. Like, please let me be a good husband. Please let us find a house. I can't even find a house for my family. I'm a bum, please. And I felt, that was in shambles, okay? And I felt like God was like, okay, you want a crib? That's cool. You want to do well at work, get some money? That sounds cool too. You want to be a good dad, make sure your baby's, healthy. That sounds good. But let me ask you this. Would you rather have that stuff or would you rather have peace? And I'm like, what do you mean? Right? And I felt like I was having a conversation back and forth with God. Not out loud. I'm not a psychopath, okay, people? I'm not like hearing voices. But I feel like I was having a conversation with God back and forth. Just a feeling. He's like, well, would you rather have that stuff or would you rather have peace? And when I say peace, I mean knowing before you ever got your wife pregnant, I was there. Knowing before these things that you live in that you called houses that you use for protection even existed, I was there. Knowing that before the job that you had existed or the money that you think that you need to be happy existed or even the planet that you're sitting on existed. Before the beginning of all of this, before time, I was there. And I was good. And I loved you. And I knew that you would come to this exact place in your life and I would have a plan to prosper you, not to hurt you,
right?
Give you a hope and a future. Would you rather have the stuff or would you rather have the knowing of that? And I said, shit. I'm working on my faith, okay? I'm still cussing at God. I'm working on it.
My goodness.
So, well, God, I'd rather have that. And he says, okay, cool. Well, then what you need to be praying about isn't a car, or isn't a house, isn't to be a good dad or health, but you need to pray for faith. And not the faith that you have in church, right? To check the box of I am faithful on the Lord, or my faith is Christian, or whatever it may be. Right. But a knowingness that the creator of all that is loves me enough to have a plan for the things that keep me up at night. To have a faith that knows that before I ask, it's given. And even better, to have a faith that I really do believe God exists. And I really do believe that he is good. And I really do think that his imagination is far better than mine. And I really do believe that his plan for my life is better than my plan for my life. Yeah. So have faith. And that faith will give you peace. And I said, okay, that sounds good. He said, go back to sleep, bro. It's 2:00 in the morning. Cussing at God. And I said, okay, God, good night.
And you probably slept good too.
I slept good. And the baby came out healthy. And I got the house. And I did well in that time of work. And I'm here with you. And the plan to get me there was so different than what I thought it was. But the peace I had going through it, just leaning on the Lord, was all I needed to get through it. So my two things for this year are intention and faith. It's going to be okay. But at the end of the day, you got some part to play in it. Be intentional about the things that you do. Be intentional about the ways that you move. But ultimately have faith that things are going to be better than you think that they are because the one who planned it is better than you think that he is. So that's kind of my two things.
All right. So now that you just preached us into 2024.
Well.
Amen. Look, there's something to be said about that because if I go back to when I've made huge shifts in my life, I remember when I moved from North Carolina to Iowa, that was all on faith. I packed up what I could in my Ford Taurus, drove from North Carolina to Iowa, knowing nobody here. Honestly, I didn't even know where Iowa really was, right?
I still don't.
I mean, it's just not a place you think to move to when you're a New Yorker, right? On a 3-month contract to a potential. There was no guarantee I was going to be hired, but I'm going to pack up everything and move across the country to be able to take care of my twins at such a young age. They were a little bit over 1.
Dang.
Over 1. There was a lot going on. You talk about tumultuous. I had that same sort. Everything was just happening at one time. And I just jumped in the car and I said, this is going to have to work. I'm going to have to figure out how this is going to work. And just like you, I'm a woman of faith as well. I was praying up a storm. That's how I was raised. And I was like, at this point, I didn't have anybody else to depend on but my faith. There was nobody else around outside of family members who were helping with the kids. But when I'm talking about the people that I thought that were the closest to me had left me, right? So that part to me right there was like doggone. But I'm gonna tell you though, that experience right there
made you.
Is what, so when challenges come my way, I'm like, if I made it through that, right, I can make it through the other stuff that's going to get thrown my way. So definitely being intentional and having faith, and also being very intentional on the people who are around you when you're going through those things.
Yep.
Because last thing you need are people who are going to bring you down. You need people who are going to encourage you, motivate you, not judge you and put you down further to make themselves feel better, right? So really having that network of people. So we're coming up on time. I could talk about this all day, though. This is some great conversation.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about a lot of different advice, but if you had to give one piece of advice tonight to our audience for a successful year, you're probably going to hear some background music too while you do this. If you had to give one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
So I would say I had a answer to this question down, because this is one of the questions that we had in our script, before the podcast. But if you want to know what's right for you, you go to how you feel about things. And the first time that I really started getting goosebumpy, I like to call them truth bumps, right? You get goosebumps, you feel so good. I felt the spirit, is when we started talking about the spirit and God and that faith. So I will probably switch my answer to those folks that are going through some of those tough times, whether professionally, whether personally. Don't let your praying knees get weak. Don't let your praying knees get lazy. Like, don't be scared to reach out to God, because he loves you and he's got you. And you may not understand or believe in a specific version of God, but I can promise you this: if you hit your knees or you try to shut off your mind and you talk to him, he will talk back. If you knock, he will answer. If you seek, you will find. So I would say, just remember to keep God first place. It starts there. And from there, you could really build this life that you deserve. Because I really do think that God puts big dreams in our hearts for a reason. And it's not to see us accomplish those dreams, right? It's because the dreams that are in our heart are placed by God are so big that he knows that for us to accomplish those dreams, we have to draw close to him to get them, because we need his help. I can't do this big thing without you. So it's like I set you up to get close to me, because the big dream in your heart requires my help. So reach out to me, come to me, and I got you. And that big dream that you have in your heart, you can accomplish it together. So keep God first place. Go after that big dream. With you may be too small, but with him, you're more than enough. So go after it and get close to him. That's my advice.
Wow. Well, how do I come out after
what do you got?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, that was profound. I 100% agree with everything you said there. And to your point, it's everybody has their own spirituality, their own faith. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to convert anybody or anything like that. We have our own faith base. Chris and I just happen to have the same faith base. Mm-hmm. And so I agree 100% with what you said. In addition to that, the piece of advice that I would give for listeners who are looking to make positive changes in their lives: spend some time to understand who you are. Spend some time to really identify who you are, not who other people say you are, not who other people tell you that, oh, you're really great at this, you need to do this, this is where you should be. But really find out, who are you? If I was to come up and ask Solo, who are you? Can you answer that question authentically from you? Who are you? Take time to really understand you. Take time to understand the uniqueness you bring. Take time to understand the value you bring. Take time to understand the impact you will have. Take time to understand the legacy you're going to leave. Take time for just you. And do it unapologetically. Mm-hmm. And if anybody has an issue with it, that might be somebody that should not be in your space.
Agreed.
because 2024, y'all, Lord have mercy. Think about where we came from 2020. The whole world was shut down.
Yeah.
Something none of us, I've never experienced it in my lifetime. Some of us didn't make it. Some of us aren't here today because of it. Some of us went through not only the pandemic, social unrest, social injustice. Things were coming up in the platform on experiences that certain individuals have gone through in this journey of life. It was heavy. We were still recovering in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Let's take everything that we've learned and come on, y'all. Let's soar in 24. Don't let people stop you. Don't let people stop you from the greatness you have. Own who you are, own your identity, and do it unapologetically. Because I'm sick and tired of watching people who have greatness in them and a purpose in them take it 6 feet under. I want to experience your purpose because you never know. I might be waiting for you to fulfill yours so I can ultimately finish mine. I believe that's the advice I would give today.
That's good advice, Paula. I'm taking it.
No.
I'm taking the advice. And I would hope you all do too. So.
Oh also, my goodness.
I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to you, Paula. Thank you to all the people that give us this opportunity to fill their space, right? People don't have to allow our crazy to enter their heads, but hopefully maybe our crazy may infect them with something that they need to accomplish those dreams, those goals, find out who they are and what they want. Because to your point, I've been on the other end of that, upset about hitting the goal ladder where I didn't have my why. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have the why that got me to the goal. When I got to the goal and I realized this isn't even what I want. Right. So I just want to say thank you for folks allowing us to come into their homes, their cell phones, their wherever they're at listening, and giving us this opportunity. It's a gift. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege. So thanks.
And with that, that's a great segue into definitely stay connected with us, right? We want you to stay connected with us. Here's our social media details. You're going to find me on social media more than you're going to find Solo. That is one of his boundaries. He's just not out there on social. You might catch him on LinkedIn every once in a while, but I don't say I blame him for the boundary that he set. So definitely follow us, tell other people. And if you want to come on here and talk about a topic, please let us know. There's topics coming up this year from individuals who have watched our show that want to hear some other things. So please definitely let us know what you want to hear about. And also, if you want to be a guest, please just reach out. You can hit us up on LinkedIn or whatnot. We love to just have authentic conversations as stated. So thank you all again. Let's keep these conversations going. I always love to end it with Chris's thoughts. For each one, reach one, and teach one. When you know better, you do better. So let's continue to do better. It's a wrap for this episode. Chris, stay on with me after we bow out. But thank you once again, everyone, for joining, and we will see you next month.